Hello everyone, welcome back to Touch the Fire Twice. I'm Joshua, and today is day 11 of the 12 Days of Candles. This series features a mix of new favorites and returning classics across a variety of brands, price points, and fragrance families, all appropriate for buying and burning during and beyond the holiday season. There have been new 12 Days of Candle videos throughout the month of December and now into January, with just one day to go. We're with the home stretch here with day 11, so be sure to stay tuned to see if your favorite candles have made or will make the calendar. Today's in-depth sniff review will be on Nest New York's Hearth candle. But before we dig into this, if you're new to Touch the Fire Twice, welcome. My mission here is to share my love and passion for fine home fragrance as an enthusiast, an educator, a reviewer, to inspire you to increase your own fragrance knowledge and understanding, ultimately enhancing the scent memories that you create. If you want to learn more about what I do, why I do it, how I do it, you can check out my website at TouchTheFireTwice.com. But for now, let's dig into Hearth. So Hearth is part of Nest New York's limited holiday collection that comes out every year. They have their core scents, and then they usually mix one or two new scents in every year or two. Sometimes they are one and done, other times they do return. The first collection launched in 2008 with the now truly classic holiday candle. Then in 2012, they introduced the also classic birchwood pine, and in 2015, Hearth was launched. This is considered in the woody festive category. The scent story on this and the notes are pretty straightforward and sound simple, but by no means does it make for a simple fragrance. In my 12 Days of Candles series, like my traditional in-depth sniff review videos, we go through, we do the unboxing, we talk about sort of the branding, the marketing of the candle itself. We talk through the scent story of how the brand describes the scent, the mood, the moment, the memory, the space, the place, the time. We talk about the specific notes. I go through, tell you sort of what my own feeling is, the scent story on it, my interpretation of the fragrance blend. And then for many of the candles, especially the more luxury fine fragrance candles that are truly elevated perfumer, master perfumer blends, we will go through the notes and kind of do a deep dive, because sometimes in this case you just get 2 or 3 notes, but oftentimes you get 5, 8, 10 plus notes in fine fragrance. And really it's interesting to dig deep in to learn what are those notes, what do they evoke, what are they used for, what do they smell like, so you know what you like, what you don't like, and can again increase that fragrance knowledge and understanding and really enjoy what you are sniffing in a new and different way. So the scent story for Hearth is fairly straightforward. Rich oud wood and frankincense with hints of smoky embers create the aroma of a warm, crackling fireplace. So unboxing here, as is always the case with Nest, really a beautiful art direction, branding experience. Nest is a really great brand for gifting for that reason, because it really is something special when you present it to someone. There's the metallic leaf on here. The box is all embossed. Just a really good hand feel and looks luxurious. Opening that up, we get into it. The cover flap here and the vessel. So I've only burned this twice. Nest is typically, in a good way, kind of a slow burner. So 2 times with good couple of hours, didn't take up a whole lot of wax, because you're at a wide vessel on the top here, so it takes a while to pull out, and then you've got a healthy burn time on these. So as you can see here, it is sort of a brown glass with their traditional pinstripes, and in this case, a metallic gold. Super, super festive, really pretty, looks great when burning. This is their classic 8.1 ounce candle, single wick, proprietary wax blend, burn time of about 50 to 60 hours. Hearth tends to also come in their 3-wick candle, which is 21.2 ounces and has about a 75 to 100 hour burn time. And I will say right from the jump here, this did take a little bit of time to pull out, as is almost always the case with your single wick candles. You might have to do a bit of a foil wrap around it to get it going, but especially with Nest, as it is a vessel that tapers, subsequent burns are going to take less and less time to pull out. I generally don't have much of an issue getting them pulled and going. And once you do, there really is a heavy fragrance load of oils. You really are going to get a nice strength, throw, and projection. And I was really satisfied with this, especially as a smoky hearth firewood candle. You would expect to have a good strong throw, and this one did in an open space. Let's get my nose on it. So this is very non-traditional in a traditional way, but we'll get into that. So it is very dark, rich, heavy, sweet, but not overwhelming. It's incredibly resinous and smoked, but not necessarily smoky. maybe like a luxurious smoked Manhattan cocktail where the smoke just kisses your senses. It doesn't choke you out. As far as the place, perhaps an exclusive Upper East Side lounge or library, but that frankincense really evokes a very old world feeling compared to just a jazzy speakeasy or nightclub. And compared to other fireside fragrances, which if you're into your photo bois, your firewoods, your hearth type fragrances, stay tuned. Later this month, I'll be doing a Name That Note video all about firewood, smoky scents, and the various interpretations across brands and fragrance families. And compared to other fireside style fragrances, sometimes that will rely on cedar, leather, amberwood, sandalwood, this is a bit more niche and exotic, thanks to that oud and frankincense, two ancient notes of wood and resin with a history across continents of being otherworldly and truly connected to the spiritual world. Dark, dry, rich, warm, not your spicy herbal camphorous woods, but your dried, aged, earthy, leathery, almost tarry woods and ambery, powdery resins. As I said, luxury fragrances often list 5, 8, 10 notes, but with oud and frankincense, they're so complex that I'm really not surprised that we don't get more. Certainly there could be maybe some cade, like a juniper tar, a bit of suede, some musk in here, but the oud and frankincense truly dominate with their own elegant and comforting complexities. It is again, exotic, niche hearth fireside fragrance that smells unlike any others. As you'll see in the upcoming Name That Note video, there might be 7 to 10 fireside wood fragrances that can express themselves very differently, that each evoke a different mood, moment, memory, space, place, or time. So digging into this, let's take some time to talk about oud and frankincense. I think many folks are familiar with at least frankincense, though it might be a bit hard to describe versus, knowing kind of a little bit of the history of it. And then oud wood is really incredibly popular in the fine fragrance world, in perfumery, has been for millennia, but is truly having a moment now and is all over the place, from your finest of fine exclusive fragrance houses to your Bath & Body Works having oud in their mass market candles, which is really interesting and great to see. So what is oud wood, first of all? So it comes from the agar tree. It's also known as the Aquilaria tree, and it is an evergreen tree that grows throughout Southeast Asia. And if and when the tree becomes infected with a very specific type of a parasitic mold, the tree reacts by producing a musky scented resin as a defense mechanism designed to protect itself when wounded. That resin then embeds into the wood to protect its core, thus creating agarwood, commonly known as oud. That resin is then melted and distilled to get the fragrance that we're familiar with today. Interestingly, it takes over 25 years for a single tree to develop this oud if it becomes infected with this parasitic mold. And they say only about 2% of these Aquilaria evergreen trees actually develop into agarwood. Therefore, it is considered to be a liquid gold, something like 50% more expensive than gold, and can be sold for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands plus of dollars for incredibly small amounts of the true, pure resin and oil. What does it smell like? It is warm, pungent, musky, sensual, smoky, animalic, slightly sweet, a deeply rich and complex fragrance that's also earthy, woody, and leathery. Now, these are adjectives and descriptors that are used for many ambers and musks and woods, but truly there is something, I want to say almost otherworldly about oud, that it reacts differently on everyone's skin. It has this deep staying power. It is alluring. It is sensual. It is really, I don't know, like a nectar of the gods or resin of the gods, but it really is one of those finest, most unique notes in perfumery. And as far as its uses, in the Middle East, it's known as wood of the gods, in fact. And the aroma is part of Muslim, Arabic, Japanese, and Indian cultures, often burned as incense and in places of worship. So that is your oud wood, this woody, smoky, leathery, musky wood, because it is not just a resin, it is not just the wood, it is that combination of when these poor trees get infected with a mold and have to defend themselves, they create what then turns into this glorious scent. And so moving over to frankincense, also known as olibanum, frankincense is an aromatic resin from the hardy Boswellia tree, which grows in dry, mountainous regions across India, Africa, and the Middle East. At about 8 to 10 years old, the tree naturally begins producing this resin, and the tree is tapped by sort of slashing the bark a few times per year, creates these drips of resin. They actually call them tears. They're then sorted by hand to be either sold raw or distilled further, and the more opaque resins are considered the highest quality. The scent is aromatic, soft, earthy, a little bit of a musty, kind of balsamic pine edge with notes of a slightly sweet citrus and a bit of spice. It's considered an austere, earthy scent, sometimes a bit reminiscent of rosemary, pine sap, or amber. A distilled oil of frankincense is brighter and sweeter than the raw resin, the little raw hard chunks of resin. It's woody, but it is not considered to be sensual, creamy, or smoky. As far as the uses, frankincense was beloved by kings and queens. It's been used in religious ceremonies, burial rituals, literally for embalming, including mummification. In aromatherapy, it is known to have many healing properties, including being antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, among others. And it's burned today in Catholic churches and Anglican high church ceremonies. And the tendrils of smoke rising from burning the incense are thought to carry prayers to the heavens. So when you get that deep, dark, smoky, alluring, sensual, animalic oud wood mixed with that balsamic pine, slightly citrus, aromatic, soft, sappy, resinous, bright frankincense with these, as they say, smoky embers, it just creates this truly unique hearth fragrance. And at launch, I believe Laura Slatkin described it as comforting and elegant and evoking memories of being seated by a fire surrounded by your family. And it is that, but there's something otherworldly, ancient to this scent that feels very historical and reminiscent of the old world. And so it's just super intoxicating. It's one of those scents that you want to just keep getting your nose in and smelling. It's really beautiful. For someone who wants a fire, wood, hearth warming fragrance that with those deep, dark, beautiful, borderline tarry, somewhat smoky resins, certainly could be a year-round scent. It doesn't have to be just within winter or within, festive holiday times, but it works very well for that and makes sense why it appears in this holiday festive collection. So highly recommend checking it out. It seems to come back year after year. If you're watching this around film time, it may be discounted at a lot of retailers because we are post-holiday seasons now. So there could be some discounts out there. I don't believe it's currently available at this point on the Nest New York website. That is it for today, day 11 on the 12 Days of Candles. Let me know what you think of this if you have purchased this, how it compares to other fireside, firewood, winter hearth fragrances, and what you think of oud as it has really become so popular in the fine home fragrance world. So that is it for today. Be sure to stay tuned for our finale, day 12 of the 12 Days of Candles, coming up soon. And until next time, take care.